everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us. This is Sidebar. If you are just now joining for the very first time, you go to sidebartv.com, and that'll tell you all of the multiple social media platforms that you can join, whether you're on Facebook, and I see lots of people already on. Carolina, Roel, Paul, Nelta, Renee, Linda, thank you so much for being here, and thanks so much for being here every single week. I always need to ask, but I think we're still on YouTube, we're still on X, we're still on Facebook and Rumble, and we just hope that you love the show as much as these guys love doing it, and we hope that you share and tell people about it, because the more the merrier, right? Before we start, and you know what, last week I didn't introduce you guys, and I felt so bad, because I always want to start talking immediately, but if you have just now joined us, you can hear the former Bexar County District Attorney, Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner, LaHood Norton Goss Law Group, and Georgia Rougeau, scholar, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. And the thing that I was going to talk about is I have not heard your name butchered as much as I have this week, because a man with your last name was involved in an ICE incident, and so Arujo turned into Arujo, Aruajo, and so I was wondering, one, that is such an unusual name. I'm not saying that it was a relative of yours, but it is such an unusual name in my life. And so did you know of this person? Do you know, like in my family tree, I think there's like 5 people in San Antonio with the name of Klaus.
No relation.
It's
a common. It is a common name in Spain and in Portugal. So I come from the Portuguese side of that. But it's Araujo in Spanish and Araújo in Portuguese, and Americans can't say either very well.
I know.
So I've settled on Arujo.
So how do you say it in Portuguese? Pronounce it in Portuguese again?
Araújo.
Araújo.
Yeah, but see, George, the way I spell it, Jorge, is Jorge in Spanish.
It throws everybody off, because you pronounce it George, and everybody's looking at Jorge, and it's like, what the hell is wrong with
Yeah,
this
I kept the spelling because I didn't want it to look totally different. So it's Jorge in Spanish. It's Jorge. Jorge in Portuguese. And Georg in German.
Georg.
What is it?
What's up with that?
What is it?
Georg.
You should have never
so
told me that.
embarrassed for you, George.
Georg.
You should have never told me that. I'm just joking.
I feel safe here. I know I shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how that goes. But no relation.
So, I don't know if we should start or not after that Georg thing. But this week, the one thing that I missed watching, and that I've got to go back and just look at everything that's been happening in the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing. And the reason that I want to go back and look at it, and I want to ask you about this, Nico, why did it seem like a trial instead of a preliminary hearing?
What's the difference to you?
Well, to me, if it's like a grand jury or just trying to find out if it should be a trial, it's never in the public.
Yeah, I just wasn't a big fan of this. I understand why Erica Kirk wanted it in the public, and I definitely understand why the government wanted it in the public. But I'm just not a big fan of this because of the fallout of this. This is a probable cause hearing. In Utah, they're entitled to a probable cause hearing.
Well, can you explain that first, what a probable cause hearing is?
So you need probable cause to be arrested or be accused of a crime. You need beyond a reasonable doubt to be convicted of a crime. And then there's different legal standards in between: preponderance of the evidence, clear and convincing evidence, which takes away a child from you by the government. So these are the standards increase. Beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest standard. So probable cause is needed. In Texas, you're entitled to what we call an examining trial if you have not been indicted yet. So an examining trial in Texas is a probable cause hearing in Utah. The difference is no one files for examining trials in Texas because all you're doing is telling the government, just hurry up and indict.
Right.
Well, no, just hurry up and indict my client. Because if you file for an examining trial, normally the government doesn't want you cross-examining their witnesses and getting evidence and getting transcripts.
Yeah.
So they're just going to go ahead and just indict your client. And so you're just encouraging the government to hurry up and indict your client. So nobody does examining trials. Now, there's positives and negatives about it. I'm of the belief, I like doing certain hearings of experts to find out their opinions, which you're entitled to under the textual rules of evidence and federal rules, to find out what a government expert's going to testify to before they testify. I like that. But to lay out and how you're going to cross-examine witnesses, and I know they hold back a little bit. I'm not a fan from a strategic standpoint of defense. So I was a little surprised why they went so much into detail, because now you can never cross-examine a government's witness for the first time. The second time.
I know.
And there's stuff that comes out. And remember, when you're trying to create reasonable doubt, someone that seems unsure, someone that has an inconsistency, someone that gets nervous, misspeaks, says something that now you've just showed them how you're going to cross them and the areas you're going to go into, and they're never going to be cross-examined the second time like the first time. So from a strategic standpoint, I don't like it. From a practical standpoint, I don't think it should have been televised. Objectively, now subjectively, I get why it was televised, but objectively, now you're tainting a jury pool. I mean, I don't care whether you intend to or not. People are watching. Now they're reading about some letter that's a confession. Now they're listening to evidence. Now they're seeing the ballistics, and I get it. I mean, all the theories out there, and the conspiracy theories, and the Candace Owens, and all that out there. So I understand why the government probably wants this. I definitely understand why Erica Kirk would want it, but I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, obviously the evidence is heading in the direction where they claimed it would be in all along, which did.
Yeah, but it's so anticlimactic for when the trial comes. I don't know that we're going to continue talking about this subject, obviously, but hopefully during this hour we're also going to be talking about Platner. Well,
I have some follow up questions for Nico here. I'm just
we're
curious.
definitely.
What do you think it was the most? Was there anything you heard? You're like, oh wow, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Because I mean, this has been kind of sort of trickling into the media, and everybody's been going into their camps. Everybody's got an opinion already made up, and they're coming into this largely their opinion already kind of formulated. Yeah. Did you hear anything that kind of maybe changed your view on it a little bit?
That he had been to the campus 4 times before the shooting. That they have high visible, what is it called?
Videotape.
High resolution video of him getting on the roof and actually taking the shot. Now, you can't see that it's him, but that's where you start putting you tie the knots together, in the sense, the dots together in where he's walking, and he's on campus, so he's there, and his DNA on this tool, which was allegedly to take the gun apart, was on on the towel, on the gun, all this other stuff. And then people were criticizing his confessions on text were released immediately, which I just can't stand that shit, man. When I was DA, I said, we're not trying a case in a court of public opinion. We got to have due process. I mean, you're not. Because then if you release some of it, how do you not release all of it? Because context matters. It's terrible. I've been consistent about that. When I was in office, out of office, before, after. And so we piecemeal this evidence out there without context, without cross-examination, without any qualification. And then people are making up their minds and they run with this crap. So the fact that he was there, the high resolution I want to see. Now, they didn't show that so you're going to show some of it, not all of it. It becomes a little bit of a circus in the sense of what you're doing, and are you applying consistent rules and logic in what you're doing, and how the judge is trying to seem like he's trying to keep everyone happy. I don't know. I'm sorry. Long answer to answer your question. The 4 times to the campus, and then the high resolution video.
What about the testimony from his boyfriend or whatever,
Lover
Twigs?
guy?
Yeah.
What part of it, though? I mean, I thought it brought details out.
That's the part, because it seemed to be kind of, they did a pretty good job of kind of breaking that down, him going piece by piece by piece. And then on some of the video, they said, is that Tyler Robinson? He goes, well, that certainly does look like Tyler Robinson. I can't say with 100% certainty, but I mean, he wears hats a lot. So, I mean, they had him kind of testifying in that way. Did that help? Kind of sort of neutral here? What do you think?
I think that leans towards the government. I mean, because then what are you going to cross-examine? So you're not 100% sure? I'm 80% sure? I mean, shit, I don't know.
99%.
I mean, so that's like saying, like, oh, so you said it was 9 a.m., but it was really 8:55. And like, okay, that's not really anything critical. So,
I'm asking this because of what Nico said earlier, because it kind of tips... It kind of, sort of tips in favor of the government in terms of what the strategy of the defense would be to defend against an allegation like that. And so it begs a response. It's not like a defense is going to, so you get a clue into how the defense is going to respond to something like that.
Yeah, so for me, I was always open-minded to following the evidence where it goes. There were things that were weird, how people acted, what they did to the scene, how they covered it up and all. There was a lot of stuff that was it's like, okay, I can understand why people are asking questions. We should.
Yeah.
Where Candace took it, it was like, man, slow down, and I've always been like that, slow down. The details that the boyfriend or whatever he is seem to bring, it's too many little details that tied knots. And to me, it seems like, from the letter underneath the keyboard, which, look, it's a confession. I mean, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a confession. And then the text messages and this. And so to me, it seemed to, and I didn't have time to watch a whole week trial, but hearing, but it seemed to kind of connect some dots. It seemed to, at least it's heading in that direction for me, as someone that analyzes this stuff for a living. So I think it boded better for the government, definitely. And then I don't think the defense got any benefit out of this at all.
So with regard to Erica, for instance, she seemed rather convinced from the very beginning that it was him. Is it possible that she had access to these kinds of data or these kinds of evidence before anybody else and therefore was convinced? Or is there a law that says it's not possible? She's not allowed to have access to that evidence any more than anybody else until a trial.
Well, obviously people can have access to it because it was released. And so if the DA's office wants to show her certain stuff because she's the wife, they could have. There's nothing that stops them.
All right.
I never did that. I used to talk to them and give them generalities, but I wouldn't show them stuff because I really want to preserve the process and due process. But that was me when I was DA. So I mean, I think she did speak as if she saw it. She seemed very certain. But
she wasn't there, right?
Yeah, she was there.
Oh,
she showed up.
She was.
Yeah, she showed up.
Okay.
Rightfully so. So I mean, look, but I'm not into this preliminary. I'm all for trials being televised. It's an open court. But this is why you don't televise a preliminary hearing.
Right.
On a probable cause, and then
To determine whether there is probable cause to go to trial.
There's zero chance that he's not going to say.
Right.
And he even said, he warned the litigators. He said, hey guys, we're going down a path of 100%. All you need is 100 miles. All you need is 1 mile. Like, guys, to me, it's like, I'm there. So kind of
What is the percentage on beyond a reasonable doubt?
There's no definition. The feds have a definition for it.
Okay.
Most states don't have we don't have a definition.
You don't have one.
We wouldn't. I do, but I mean, the Texas doesn't. It's the highest standard. So the government has to erase and eliminate every doubt that's reasonable from your mind. Every single one of them. They would not make you hesitate in your own affairs. That's more federal language, but I like that language. Hesitate in your own affairs. I mean, so you're sure. I mean, and then we have a chart. And there's a way we handle it in jury selection. But I don't know. It's
law school academics are similar to other disciplines. There's what's on the textbook, and then there's reality, and sometimes there's a gap. You can't recall a percentage.
I agree with you.
There's no percentage.
Yeah.
And the judge specifically in the government, when we were the government, we said that too. There is no percentage. There's no definite. But we know it's higher than the level of taking away your kids from you. So, I mean, I often say, you have your birth certificate. The government can erase your name from your kid's birth certificate, and that's a certain standard. And we have a definition, a firm belief of the allegations sought out, and then beyond a reasonable doubt, it's higher than that. If you have a doubt and you're reasonable, then that's not guilty. Even if you think if you say, "Gosh, I think they're probably guilty," that's still not guilty.
Yeah.
That's not beyond a reasonable doubt.
What about finding an untainted jury now? Well, I mean, they accidentally played things they weren't supposed to play on the live stream. They did this.
This is why you don't televise a preliminary hearing.
Right.
But
Well, how about defining an untainted jury in your view?
Uninformed jury, but
Uninformed,
is that because we use the word tainted, meaning that they've already formed an opinion. Yeah. As long as they look, when we tried that Uvalde case in Corpus in Nueces County, there was 450 people, potential veneer members, that's potential jury pool. And when Judge Harrell asked, "Has anybody heard of this case?" I mean, and we had them hold their hand up for a while. I'm not being hyperbolic. I think literally everybody raised their hand. In a room of 450 people, everybody. Now, had they heard about it to the point where they've already predetermined and a lot already predetermined it. Yeah. And none of them on our side. And so we were just looking for neutral people. We weren't even looking for people that were favorable to Adrian.
Is that, though? That was like...
Well, I mean, so we had a strategy going into it. So this is going to be even more. I mean, I don't know. I mean, ours dealt with 19 precious babies. And then, Charlie, obviously, it's been a very high-profile deal. He's an adult, but still, it's horrible. It's on video.
Emotional.
Yeah,
totally emotional.
But they're going to be in that same boat because it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in Utah, and they haven't changed venue.
There's a clip from the testimony, Nico, and then I knew you want to move on to another topic here, but I'm just curious about this because these are things that I thought were, me as an observer of the process, could conceivably be game changers. So when Lance Twiggs, this guy's former lover, was testifying, he said this. He goes, this is from the perspective of September 11th, the day after. He said, I just asked him, Tyler Robinson, in person, if what he said was true the night before, and he said it was. He started crying a little bit and says he wishes he hadn't done it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty deliberate. And in the context of that is him going out and going after Kirk and then getting a Dremel tool and putting messages on bullets. It's really difficult. Yeah. I mean, if you're a defense attorney, even an able defense attorney like you guys are, I mean, geez, it's like where
he confessed to his parents.
Where
too, remember?
where could you conceivably go unless Lance Twiggs is on drugs or unless you can show that he's been paid off? I mean, where do you go potentially?
He's been given immunity from what? What do you need immunity for?
They said limited immunity. What does that mean?
It's based on what he testifies to. It's not absolute immunity. That's correct. But I'm just saying. I mean, you can make hay of that. What do you need immunity for?
I'd like to understand what that means from your perspective, like a textbook definition of.
Well, for me, every state's a little bit different, and so how it's used. I mean, they talked about use immunity versus absolute immunity, like how he's being used, how he's being testified, what he testifies to. So it's not absolute. So I get that's their defense. But what I'm saying is witnesses, 90-something%, if you want percentages, of witnesses in criminal trials do not have immunity. They're just witnesses. They don't need immunity. They haven't done anything wrong unless they're co-defendants. And there's some type of culpability. Now, does that absolve him? Does that mitigate him? I mean, remember, you have to define what a win is in a case like this. If the government's seeking the death penalty, then life in prison's a win. I mean, if you think that's a win, I mean,
so your position would be that you basically say, look, that casts a shadow on the authenticity of the testimony because, in a sense, the government could be sort of tipping the scales. Well, I mean, but you'd want to know how.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so he wasn't there live to testify, so he wasn't subjected to cross-examination, which he doesn't have to be on a preliminary hearing. In Texas, the rules of evidence don't apply really, and so it's a very different hearing than a trial in front of a jury. You have the rules of evidence, code of criminal procedure. You have constitutional arguments that are made because you have your actual liberty at stake. Because if you're convicted, you're going to go away. In a preliminary hearing, they're just making a ruling on evidence and probable cause moving forward. 100%, this is moving forward. I mean, there's not a snowball chance in hell, as they say. This is not moving forward.
What kind of sentence could he get are there in Utah, right?
Death penalty.
Death penalty?
I think they're seeking death. I thought they were seeking death.
You're right.
So that's what I'm saying. You have to define. So if I have a client that is a habitual, meaning they've been to prison twice and they're facing another third-degree felony or higher, then that means it's minimum 25 to life. That individual that I'm describing is facing 25 to life. So if I tell you that the minimum, if the government wanted to offer my client the minimum, I'm going to offer you the minimum. That's 25 years to do in prison. Okay. So if we get a verdict of 15 years, is that a win? That's a win. You beat the offer. You beat the exposure. So we have to define what a win is. Okay. In a death penalty case, non-death is a win. Okay. So many times it's not on the guilt innocence, it's on the mitigation, on the punishment phase.
Last follow-up question on the limited immunity with Lance Twiggs. Could it be that could it be related to, let's say, the limited immunity to the fact that Lance might have known that criminality was going to happen, or that this guy was actually going to take out Charlie Kirk and didn't say anything? The words that are thrown out are accomplice or accessory. Does that fit into any one of those?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it does. Yes, it does. Now, the little that I heard of his testimony, he sounded surprised. Like, don't tell me now whether it came out or there's evidence that he knew beforehand. That doesn't absolve Tyler Robinson. Right. Yeah. It just means maybe he knew or encouraged or furthered it. Although he says, please tell me, it's not you, right? What are you talking about? So he kind of made it seem like he was surprised. I'm curious to hear about these confession to his parents.
Not to
I'm
his talking
parents.
About Tyler. Yeah. That's why didn't the dad turned him in? And that's how he knew.
They walked him in, his parents,
because he
and
told
then that family friend. Well, I don't know if he told them. That's what's been reported. I don't know yet, and I don't think that happened this week. And maybe that's what they're holding back. But he went to the. I mean, and then I'd use if I was the government. Why would you walk in with your parents to the police station if you didn't do anything wrong?
Right.
What are you walking in for? Now he's not going to testify, but I mean that's what I would argue in closing. I would say, what are you walking in for?
Why would they think to even turn you in or go in with you?
I wouldn't allow my parents or anybody to turn me in for some allegation I didn't do.
Right.
So just that. I mean, that's going to be used against him. So, it's not like they came to get him. He went inside to the police station. Yeah. So that's terrible. Yeah. Now, what does that do for the whole Candace Owens out there? I think you have a problem with your theories, your conspiracy theories. I think the questions you should ask the questions. Does it mean that some outside influence could not have worked with Tyler Robinson? I guess, of course, it doesn't mean that. But there's no evidence of that. I'm big on the evidence stuff.
Yeah.
Theory, hypothesis are one thing, but to say that it's a theory that's supported by evidence is something else. We got to follow evidence wherever it leads us. And so I've always said from the beginning that if there is outside influence, and of course everyone's talking about Israel.
That's right.
I mean, well then it would be a horrible plan to leave that dude alive. And the analogy I was talking to Jack Riccardi this week, because I was on the radio with him about this, was like Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, Lee Harvey Oswald was taken out the next day.
Right.
We know the theories on that, which I lean more towards that camp, because I mean, Lee Harvey Oswald was like, "What the hell? What are you talking about? I didn't do anything." And he was there. He was seen. He was show up here. There's no DNA.
Right.
All that stuff. So, and then Jack Ruby, some bar owner from Dallas that had connections to the mob, takes him out because he cared so much about President Kennedy, I guess. But whatever. All I'm saying is that's what you do when an outside influence has a true patsy. This doesn't smell like a true patsy to me, and all those details matter.
And when you know a little bit about projectile physics, as I do, bullets don't behave that way. I mean, I've always tried to find some sort of compelling
Tell me what you're talking about.
the magic bullet in the Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, yeah,
case.
yeah.
I mean, that's where set aside the fact that I don't trust the government. I've got lots of questions. I've never found a compelling projectile analysis
In
of
full tat.
I've never seen it.
Do you know what you're talking about, Karen?
Yes, I do,
So
but
boom,
isn't
never
it
seen it.
sad
boom,
that
boom, and then they found it conveniently.
At that time in America, I mean, you just gulped it down. That's what happened. That was the truth.
But
Nobody would question it.
Back then, finding a bullet in the whatever it was in the bed or in the car of President Kennedy. Most people are like, well, there you go, it's the bullet. They don't understand
Yeah.
how it fragments and how a bone can fragment it, how it splits apart. I mean, velocity, all that stuff, wound path analysis. I mean, when you look at the wound path analysis he would have to this, then Connolly, then back, and then boom, and then
And
blood.
that was
Stupid.
1963.
Just doesn't.
Doesn't-
Sorry.
There
Yeah.
wasn't even like
Doesn't fly.
DNA, yeah.
I guess to my point,
Sorry.
that's a true patsy to me. That's a true patsy.
Yeah.
Someone that's kind of, what are you talking about? He didn't turn himself in. They went to go find him in a
Yeah.
movie theater.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid turned himself in. And why is he left alive? And then you have Lance Twiggs, who has other corroborating evidence that fills in some blanks. You wouldn't leave that dude alive either. You wouldn't want him
No,
involved.
you're right.
So
You're
it's
right.
now I'm not saying that. The one that really bothers me is the whole Butler dude that no one wants to.
I don't even remember his name. What is
I don't
his
know.
name?
That'll have
weird
to be
looking
from another show when we finally learn what the hell happened there.
Well,
but,
it doesn't seem
But
like
he was gone like in 30 seconds. His whole life, his everything, gone in 30 seconds. You're like,
Look, I'm all for the questions. We should ask questions, and you're not a conspiracy theorist to ask questions. It's when you take it like where Candace is taking it, and she's making money, by the way, on it. And I'm no fan of certain of certain people, but I got to be objective in my analysis and follow evidence. Evidence matters to me.
well, I think it's this. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying by that regard, you're not fans of a lot of your clients, but they still deserve
I am a fan of all of my clients, George Araujo.
All right.
Joking. I'm a fan of defending them. How about that? I'm
yeah.
joking.
Georg.
No, yeah, Georg.
Sorry,
Karen,
George.
you said Karen's busting your balls, man.
Yeah. Yeah, the day is young.
Well, I was thinking it is really important right now to talk about the conspiracy theories because everybody wants to know who did it, why, how did this happen, how did somebody get away with it, and it is very blatant now that they're even holding up posters in Iran that say, "We're going to kill you, Mr. Trump." I mean, there's no doubt that they want to do this whole, assassination of our president, and that's pretty sick.
Israel
and
turned over
scary
evidence
to
to that, and it's been examined, and it's legit evidence, and but it's not new. I mean, this is
No, it's not new,
there's
but
been
it's getting
there's been
stronger, it
recurring
feels
ones.
like.
All I can say is I'm absolutely shocked that Iran wants to kill President Trump. Said nobody. Said nobody.
I know.
This is. We're no genius. Well, maybe George is a genius. I'm no genius, but everybody could have seen this coming.
Mm-hmm.
That they were never going to deal with us properly. They were never going to be honest with us. Look, guys, say it. I support President Trump. He was played. I don't know what the logic was. I don't know what advice he was given. All he did was release a bunch of. I'm so frustrated with this because now we're even closer to the midterms. This does not help. None of this helps. And so I don't understand what he's doing now. He should have never stopped doing back then. Why even stop? The pressure you had, the foot on the neck, so to speak, was their economic downfall, was the pressure, and the onslaught militarily. And so you had a double whammy on them, and you gave them breathing room, and then you gave them water in their corner.
Yeah.
So you gave them water, you closed up their cut, and then you let them fight on. And it just makes zero sense.
Maybe.
And you just got to admit it.
There's no path to victory. There's no path. There's no path to victory. Peace that leaves the regime leadership intact. They have to be assassinated. That was always the reality from day one. Everybody expected it. Nobody expected that there would be calm after the storm with the regime remaining in place. No one who is sane ever assumed that would be how this whole thing would end.
What
and so that hasn't changed.
Okay, two things. What sites is America now bombing? Like, what significance is it on what they're throwing down their bombs?
Well,
but two, maybe, I agree with you, Nico, that there was never a solution to what this problem is that's been going on for over 40 years or whatever. But maybe Trump thought that he could actually do it. Like, can you fault him for that?
I do. I really do. Honestly, I have to be honest, guys. I do fault him for that because everyone knew they were never going to deal. They're not honest actors. I don't care about the third level, the fourth level. That whole regime, that whole ideology is a mental cancer. These are not honest actors. They kill their own people. This is a horrible ideology that how they treat women. Look, how they treat gays, how they treat anyone that
any
free
citizen
speech,
that doesn't go along, right?
Look, you know how I feel about that mindset and Sharia law and all that stuff. This is horrible. And so for him to have given them breathing room and then give them money. He opened up that. He should have never slowed down. I don't know what advice he was given. It was horrible advice. We talked about that. We think Marco Rubio was not on board. I don't think there was unity in that camp. I don't know whoever the idiot was that gave him this advice should be gone. Now Trump ultimately, he's the man in charge. He ran with it. But it was horrible. It frustrates me. We're closer to the midterms. People get distracted easily. I completely support going in there and taking out this regime. All you have to do is look at Iran pre-Ayatollah and how it was with the Shah versus the Ayatollah. Women were free. People could think more. They could freely speak. Look, I tell my friends on the left, even my friends that I care for in the LGBT community, that I disagree with on lifestyle, but I love them as people. I say, go have a pride parade. Forget the month.
Try it.
Go have a Pride Minute parade over there. Have a Pride Minute parade over there. See what happens to you. You wouldn't even get a minute. This is the mindset. I believe in freedom. I will allow someone. I think they should have their voice. They can advocate. Let's share ideas. Let's talk. Let's live together. But I'm going to advocate my way. You advocate your way. But we live together in this country because we have a constitutional republic here. But it's demonic over there. I'm not using words. I'm using words carefully. And so for Trump to fall for that, it falls right on his ass and his lap. It does. And the advice was horrible. I can't believe somebody wasn't trying to get his attention. And look, and J.D. Vance, it looks the worst, and it looks just as bad in this. Maybe that's good because I prefer Rubio over Vance, even though I like Vance. He looks terrible. He looks weak to me. You got Trump looked weak in this. He looks strong everywhere else. He looks weak on this one. And now he's looking strong, of course, because he always was capable of doing this. Vance looks weak on this one. And I think... I don't know. I'm very frustrated.
I think the biggest criticism here is that Trump has stunningly refused to accept a reality that he's been arguing for decades. That people are stunned by that. He's been very critical of previous administrations and previous presidents in terms of their policy on Iran and how indeliberate we have been and how everything's come down to the Strait of Hormuz. And everyone with a brain who's had any semblance of history knew that whatever you did going into Iran, there had to be some sort of way to resolve the Strait of Hormuz issue, their stranglehold over the Strait of Hormuz. They know where their military deployment sites are along the strait. They know that. In other words, when these guys launch attacks into the Gulf, they know where those attacks are coming from. They know the nature of the attacks, if it's drones or if it's missile launches or if it's small manned boats with machine guns on them. They know where these things are. It seems to me, if that was truly the concern up front, then they should have gone after those things from the get-go. Yeah. There should be a strategy to take those things out. And so, and those are well-known things. The Strait of Hormuz has been an issue from the very beginning. So the idea that they didn't know is just impossible. And Trump's been critical of it for decades. So I don't know why he acted like It was a reality he didn't have to face after he's been bothered by it for decades. So what happened inside the administration that compelled him to go in that direction and give Iran essentially a 2.5-month breather?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he did. He should have kept up the intensity. And so I think people are legitimately critical. I've been very critical of him on this. And you're talking to a guy that's been otherwise, very supportive of Trump policy because I think it helps America.
I think very, very supportive would be the classification.
Proudly so.
Yes.
Very, very,
As you should
very,
be.
very supportive. Thank you.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to validate George's criticism, and I think it's an honest criticism. I'm very supportive of Trump. Maybe not very, 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 but I've been very supportive of Trump.
Pull off a very or
I'm
two.
gonna take a couple of varies off, but I am very supportive of him, and because I want him to do better. I know we've had people that have watched and said, "Man, give him a break." No, I don't want to. He doesn't. We don't give breaks. We have principles and we have goals to. You don't get breaks. If we don't give the other side a break, then our side doesn't get a break. That's not. We're the ones. I mean, for me, we're claiming principles. Principles
Yes.
apply to everybody. They apply to me, my kids, my family, my wife. That's it. And so a principle is now. If you have a preference, then say I have a preference. Then that's not a principle. I used to say that in office. All these people that come into office, this is my principle, and then they violate their own principle because there's always some exception. A principle is never violated. Now, if you have a preference or a tendency, that's different. I go, our tendency is to do this. That means there's an opening to change. But when it's a principle, it doesn't change. So that's
You may have a principle-based preference,
That's
but
different.
not all preferences are principle-based.
There you go, good.
But I mean, I think people are stepping back and they're saying there was so much important momentum, and we couldn't afford to lose that momentum. It's exactly what we've done in the past, and it's always led to failure. And in the memorandum of understanding, it was just so absurd.
Oh, God,
it was
don't get me
just
started.
so
Why did you
absurd.
say that, George?
And to release assets, and to remove sanctions, and to release monies to a regime with a 50-year history of using that money consistently to go after America and America's allies. I mean, that's what they did. They've been doing that. They've been literally targeting our neighbors or their neighbors in the Gulf. Most of them allies of the United States. They're doing exactly what they've done for 50 years. And for us to not know somehow that this was definitely, not perhaps, but definitely going to happen, I don't get it.
I'm Iran. You want my memory of understanding? Make sure that understand that I'm going to lie to you. Understand that I'm not going to keep my word.
And we're signing
understand
in
that I'm going to be
invisible ink.
deceived. And for all that, do you understand that? Now can I have my money? So of course, yes. That's it. I mean, who thought that? No one thought.
No.
No one with a brain. Sorry. Thought that this was going to work out.
So
No.
Ed Miles on Facebook says, I don't know if he's asking a question, but I'm asking. He just says, 10 weeks wasted? Was it 10 weeks wasted? Because that's how deep and far we're in.
Well, I guess,
ahead.
George, you can answer this question. What was accomplished in those 10 weeks?
Thank you.
We lost ground.
What exactly? No, seriously, it's a legitimate question. It's exact. You stole my thunder, but it's a perfect question. What exactly was accomplished in those 78 days? And I'm being kind. It was longer than that. But what advance was made on behalf of America's military
We
interests?
lost ground, George, because we funded them.
Correct.
Because of this memorandum of understanding. Look, I mean, we should be critical. We should demand better. That's it. Now, is that going to change my vote? No. I mean, it's not going to change my vote. But I got to call balls and strikes. And you're never going to openly bring someone, if they have an open mind. If they're not have an open mind, then no matter what, to understand that the logic of what I believe the conservative movement is, if it's properly applied, if you don't admit these things, you can't just close your eyes. I see no, Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I see no evil, I hear no evil when it comes to my side. No, bullshit. It is what it is, and it's not what it's not. That's it. So I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I want President Trump to do better, and he didn't do better on this one. He did worse in the sense of what's happened in these last 10 weeks. To George's point, I support wholeheartedly going in. I do. This regime is evil.
So
Period.
how do we get out?
I don't-
Declare it a win militarily and then just leave?
Had they sustained their operation, the argument that we were killing them economically would have held. The problem is that a lot of the oil that was already out there, it was oil that they already been paid for. So that oil that kind of needed to be depleted, and so we just needed to keep up our pressure on them. And we simply didn't. I mean, we took it off at the absolute worst time. I think we'd be having a very different discussion right now about Iran than we are right now. Had we not
Someone said there was
pushed
a
our
report.
foot off
I
the
hate
pedal.
that bullshit. There was a report.
Reports say.
Breaking news. Everything's breaking news these days. Everything's breaking.
Yeah.
All right. So there was a report that Trump saw the funeral of the Ayatollah, and it was like, oh shit, these people really do hate me. I guess I am not the hero over there. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. They hate you. When did they not hate you? Who told you that?
When did they not want you dead?
Well, I mean, who told you that?
Right.
I mean, that's terrible. And then on his children, on this, I mean, these people are serious players. These are people that are prepared to go all the way, and they think dying for their cause is going to give them some type of afterlife benefit. That's what they're persuaded by.
Yeah.
That's what you're up against. There's no negotiating with that. There's no having a pet scorpion. You're not going to have a pet rattlesnake. Yeah. You can own a pet rattlesnake and a scorpion, but it's not your pet. You're not going to cuddle with it.
And that's why it's unreasonable, because you're dealing with a politics that's driven by a cultic religion of death, where the highest and best good is death all around, right? To everyone. I mean, seriously. So that traditional negotiation techniques aren't going to work, because death isn't a bug; it's a feature.
Explain their eschatology, their view of their role in end times. Right? I mean, that ideology.
Well, the eschatology
Explain what eschatology is first.
It's a study of future things. I mean, we have Christian eschatology, a study of the end times, how things are basically going to end up, and the kinds of things that need to happen to get there. The eschatology, you have this kind of radical, and I say radical politically, because the whole religion, I think, is radical.
Yes.
But if you look at what they're trying to do, they're trying to establish a global caliphate. They want the entire world to, it's the Dar al-Islam, it's the world of Islam. They're trying to impose that. And so that's the highest and best good on this earth. And people who don't comply should be destroyed. And they can be destroyed in one of two ways. They can be incarcerated and turned into dhimmis, basically second-class citizens who pay, at the very least, a back-breaking tax.
Jizya, right?
Or they're killed, they're wiped out. There is one way in which you can escape that, and that is, of course, conversion. You can choose to be converted under gunpoint. So that's it. This is a highest and best good, and ultimately a global caliphate. But behind that caliphate is a long trail of ashes and destruction, and so this is their goal. This is the culmination. Whereas if you look at Christianity, the highest and best good is the redemption of mankind. It isn't coercive; it's an offer, and you can take it,
persuasion,
or you can refuse it. Period. End of story.
People don't understand that Egypt, Morocco, Jordan, Syria, Libya, I mean, all these, Iraq used to be Christian. I mean, I can go on and on. That whole region was Christian. It was, but slowly but surely, and by force and through persuasion, and that usually by force, they've just run roughshod over there. The Middle East was not Islamic. It wasn't historically.
No, it was overwhelmingly non-Islamic, and it became Islamic through force. I mean, this is a historical reality. Even people who love Islam would have to concede that that's the case, and it was a very successful campaign of terror that went for centuries and centuries and centuries. I mean, from Muhammad's death in 632, I mean, seriously, all the way through the Crusades, you're looking at about 700 or 800 years of onslaught. And it didn't stop after that. I mean, there's such a thing as the Ottoman Empire. And that just went away in 1924. So this has been very successful, but it's been successful through coercion. Now, you need to ask yourself, why would it be any different in the West? Yeah. I mean, because it isn't different in the West. I mean, they're engaging in civilizational jihad.
Yes.
They're trying to fool people into thinking that they're a religion of peace, but they're not, and they're using our own liberal institutions against us and religious freedom laws against us. And by the time I worry that we realize as a West, it'll be way too late, and they will have amassed the political power that they need to start doing the coercion campaign.
I mean, where are the people bitching at Mamdani for playing the morning prayer?
Exactly.
I mean, the Adhan.
The Adhan, yeah. I mean, where are those people bitching? Where are those same progressive groups that are so worried about a coach that asks their players, do you want to voluntarily pray after the game in the middle of the field? Voluntarily versus you being forced to hear the Adhan in the morning. And all of a sudden, people are okay with that now. So that's what I'm saying. They don't believe in a principle. They just hate Christianity. Because in Christianity, you can't stay. But they don't realize that because they think their enemy is their friend, that if there's ever a religion that will force you to do shit you don't want to do, it's Islam. Christianity will persuade you.
Amen. That's right. And this is true of every nation. Every nation has an underlying religious framework that has influenced its culture and its laws, more or less.
Yeah.
And so if you study United States history, you know that is decidedly Judeo-Christian. And so you asked this question years ago. What kind of United States are we going to have? And we know the kind of United States we have had, but if we change that framework, we're going to end up with a very different country. Are we sure that we want to go the way of Islam? And that answer should be unequivocally no, because it's left behind a very long trail of death and destruction. So that's a matter of history. That's not political opinion. That's just the way things are.
A lot of people asked, why didn't the Iranian people fight against the regime?
With what?
Because
with what?
Well, I don't know.
Because we supported them so much?
Reports say that Trump armed the Kurds to try and fight, but they just took the weapons and left because they're like, we're not going to be out of here.
You got tricked again?
Yeah. And so what is the end? I mean, how do we get out of here?
Well, unfortunately, you either concede defeat at some form or fashion.
That's never going to happen.
Well, I mean, it will happen. He'll just label it something else, or you keep going until you take out that regime. You have to. So when you talk about our goal is not regime change, please, let's all.
Yeah, but remember he said there was
no
more weapons.
Change.
They have no more weapons.
Yeah, but they're still bombing everybody, and they're still doing
Right.
drone attacks, and we still don't own the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
So there's something, either that or they're just very intimidating people with their words. So you just got to replace this regime. I think. I mean, that's my opinion.
You had a regime that wiped out, the numbers range anywhere from 32,000 to over 40,000 of their own people who took to the streets in January.
That's a lie, George. You know
And
what
so
they say.
a month later, we go into this military campaign. And so the assumption was that anger is still fire red. And so we're going to capitalize on it. I think it was an assumption that people were going to take right back down to the streets. But I think we're underestimating the impact of all that blood running in the streets. People are like, I'm not really sure. And I think that there was an overestimation on what the military aerial campaign would accomplish. They were waiting for the Iranian regime clearly to say, okay, got it, we're done. Because there's never been that kind of military campaign. But it's going to take more than an aerial onslaught to get these people out of their caves. And I mean that. I mean, these are long time
Here's the problem.
weathered fighters.
Trump has said he doesn't want any
more
boots on the
campaign.
ground, but it would take boots on the ground. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be general soldiers. I mean, it would have to be special forces and things like that.
Yeah, not necessarily hundreds of thousands of
But
soldiers.
boots on the ground is the only way to not say, okay, we lost, we're out of here.
Regime change. I mean, look. I mean, it's almost as close to a lose-lose situation as you can get because you're getting close to the midterms. And I've said this. I mean, I'm no genius. We said this. Not just us. A lot of people said this. They knew that he was getting closer and closer to the midterms. So as time went on, that's why giving time didn't help you. It wasn't helping your cause, and it wasn't helping them because the pressure on them was working economically and militarily. So I just big fumble.
There's no way that because people are thinking Venezuela, Nico, and they're thinking, why didn't we have a similar operation there? I mean, it's
never going to be that.
And there's some things in which way it's similar, but there's some significant differences as well. I mean, they went and they extracted Maduro. It's one guy. He's in a particular location. They knew where he was, and so it was limited by default. Here, you've got multiple leaders in this regime, and they may or may not be together. That's not to say that they didn't have adequate intelligence, but I mean, they could have gathered that intelligence. But it was never going to be as simple. And it was never going to be as quick. And there's no question that you would have lost a few men. And I don't want to downplay that, but that would have been infinitely more preferable than to position Iran for long-term strength and wealth that they can then use to kill another 1,000 Americans over the next 5 or 10 years. So, I mean, I think we've always said in this show, I don't see how you avoid a kinetic operation on land, even if it's a surgical move. And I don't see how in the world we're going to avoid that. Before Trump leaves office, I would be stunned if we didn't have such an operation to try to go in there and take out what's left of their leaders. That's when you're going to see significant change. If you can take those fuckers out, that's it. Aside from that, this is all bullshit.
Yeah, but how many of them are there? Every time I feel like it's in the news that we took out the regime. We took out another regime.
We took out quite a few through surgical bombing campaigns.
But they're still going on.
Sure, we're not done. And so there's a few others who are calling shots. And the idea that we don't know where they are, and I don't understand that, especially with Israeli intelligence. intelligence.
My goal would be getting Iran back to pre-1979.
Then you're going to have to extract this cancer.
That's my point.
That's it.
That's our goal, where there's true freedom in that country, where they can flourish, where people can flourish, where that can be a thriving culture again, and community and country. Ultimately, that's what we want.
That's right.
That's what I want.
Exactly
As
right.
Ed says, but you can't deal with a kamikaze, and that's what you're dealing with when it comes to Iran.
That's what I'm saying. Why talk to him? So Ed's right.
Yeah,
Ed,
stop
go talk to
talking.
him. Ed, go talk to him, guy.
I had to look up a term,
What?
Islamo-Fascist. That's
What did you find out?
that George needs to tell me. What is an Islamo-Fascist?
Well, I mean, these are two totalitarian worldviews, right? Islamism.
It's a mashup.
Yeah, that's right. Islamism. And then you have fascism, which is, a crushing by the government, usually through militant means, crushing of the will of the people for government advancement. I think of the fascist 20th century was Benito Mussolini in Iran. You could argue Adolf Hitler was a fascist of a particular kind. He was a socialist. That's what I'm saying. There's very little. At the end of the day, the culmination of these things are all fascism. Communism becomes fascistic. Socialism becomes communism and
So
becomes
what is
fascistic.
an Islamo-Fascist when it comes to America?
Because we have fascistic movements that are non-Islamic, and then we have Islamic movements in the country, and those have created I call it a handshake, because there's a lot they have in common, which is to crush the American way.
But it's a handshake with their fingers crossed behind their back.
Okay, but why
Because-
everybody's
'cause-
falling for it though? It seems that
it
way.
sounds great because you promise everything and you work off people's emotions, and then there's a lot of deception campaigns and things of this nature. And then we have a history of, for me, I mean, in my opinion, the conservative movement and the Christian church not doing a good job of answering questions, and then allowing, how we say in the men's Bible study, there's an 11th commandment. It's in Exodus 20. Don't be a dick, and it's but don't be a wussy either, right? So there's
Yeah.
an other side to it. So don't be weak and don't be so grace. Truth without grace comes across harsh, and everybody's like, yeah, you're right, man. We need more grace, not so. But then grace without truth is deception. And so what's the balance? The balance is wisdom, and the Holy Spirit gives you. And so be tough when it's time to be tough. Be gracious. I just follow the example of Christ. So I just believe that the conservatism was not represented well, and that's why I still am sour grapes over the squandered grace of this last election. I mean, when Trump won this historic election, the tent of conservatism and what it meant, and even Christianity before Charlie passed away, I mean, was on the rise, growing because it made sense. I mean, I'm a Christian not because it's easy, not because I like everything that I heard. As now, I'm fully committed because I believe it's true. I believe it's objectively true, and I believe Christ, the first century Jew, is who he says he is and was and will always be. But that's evidence. So I reasoned with myself. I pushed back. I did research. I asked questions to people that didn't turn my questions away when I was younger. Don't ask that question. Just believe. I get okay, then it's not my belief. It's your belief.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have to engage in answering questions. Paul did it in Acts. We have to do it too. It's given an apologia, a defense for your situation. That's what call an apologist. An apologist doesn't apologize for their position. There's Islamic apologists, there's Christian apologists, there's conservative apologists, there's progressive apologists. Someone given an apologia, a defense for your worldview. And I don't think it's been done well, to be honest with you. And so it sounds good because when you've applied socialism, definitely communism, or theocratic Islam in any culture, that culture dies. The culture dies. But it's never been done properly. Well, show me where it's done properly. You're going to do it first time properly. You're falling for the same shit that they said and lied to them over there. So that's the problem. We don't know history, so we're destined to repeat it. And then we're stupid. And so, I mean that. I don't mean to be mean. I'm just saying stupid meaning we're ignorant. We just want to be ignorant. We don't want to educate ourselves. I want to educate myself about my opponent's trial and their evidence so I can be prepared to litigate against it. And so I don't want to read their stuff. I do. I want to know what the other side says because maybe I'm wrong. I need to adjust because my focus is truth, objective truth, not Nico LaHood truth. So a long way to answer that question, Karen. Sorry, but I mean, I'm just saying. So it's gaining steam because these people that are advocating for this ideology have never lived in it yet.
Yeah.
And yet it keeps gaining
they haven't.
momentum.
And I would say that there's very little daylight. In fact, I don't think there's any difference between the so-called moderates and the people who are coming in and taking power by force. I mean, the DSA, this Democrat Socialist America, which is really kind of a candy-ass American description of communism. These people are communists. If you don't like communism, call it fascistic, because that's ultimately, fascistic is that's why I like that, fascism. The idea that the government will be used by force if necessary and almost inevitably to take what they believe is theirs. And it'll be concentrated in the hands of a few. Now, call it what you want. It is an oligarchy. The power's concentrated in the hands of few. This is the ultimate culmination of where this is going. And it'll be specifically what you have, for instance, a particular type of oligarchy, like in Russia. You have a kleptocracy, which is a group of people that steal, that aggregate power in themselves by stealing the wealth of the country and funneling it to themselves and to their own interests. So I think that this is ultimately where this goes, because that's what history shows. And Americans haven't been taught this stuff. I mean, communism and plutocracy and kleptocracy and oligarchy and socialism, these things used to be, I mean, I learned these things in American schools. I lived under this crap overseas, but I learned about it when I came here in ways that I hadn't learned about it there. And so we used to teach this stuff. And so you didn't have to be very old before the hair stood up in the back of your neck when you heard the word communism. Today, you've got kids 18 to 34 or embracing this stuff because they think this is about affordability. They think socialism is about affordability. They think socialism is about, righting the wrongs and helping the marginalized. And it hasn't a damn thing to do with that. Now, that's how it's spun, but that's not how it ultimately ends up. And that's what history teaches us. And so you have politicians right now in New York and Colorado and other places who are winning primaries right now inside the so-called Democrat Party. And the first thing they do is they throw the Democrat Party under the bus. Listen to what they're saying. They can't stand the party. Yep. They want the party to be completely redone. And you got these dipshit so-called moderates and incumbents. On paper, they actually believe the exact same things, if you think about it, with a couple of differences. One, the DSA, it's a requirement to hate Israel. If you look at El-Sayed in Michigan, who's running for the Senate campaign there, the primary is on August 4th, two things that he's been talking about. He wants to basically destroy the American capitalistic system, and he hates Israel. Now, a lot can be put under that umbrella of destroying the American capitalistic system. All kinds of grievances you can throw in there, right? That's very similar to Mamdani. Very similar to the two individuals who won the primaries in New York that unseated a major incumbent. So there's a thread here. You hate America and you hate Israel. That's the nuance there. So if you're not willing to say that Israel's committing genocide, then you're a traitor. You're not part of the DSA. That's the interesting defining characteristic. But this is the Islamo-Fascistic. So these people absolutely have a visceral hatred for Israel, but they have a visceral hatred for American economics or the American economic and political system.
But how long can Mamdani hide the fact that it's not going to work?
Well, I don't think he's hiding. And I think that's the difference. The difference is you have honest versus dishonest. And so you have moderate Democrats who won't come out and say things about where this is going, where they wish to go. And you have the Abdul al-Sayeds and the Zohar Mamdanis who are more honest. And so Mamdani ran on rent control.
I know.
He ran on controlling grocery stores.
How can it be so hidden out in the open? I don't even know how to explain what I'm saying.
Because it's spun in language of affordability. This is all for your own good. It's about taking from the haves and have-nots. This is correcting injustices. Look, when Nico says that Trump squandered grace, remember, Trump came into power basically to fix some economic wrongs, right?
Yeah, we were hungry for it.
It was immigration, economics, and I think Americans coupled those two, and they realized that you can't have a nation if you have open borders. And you don't know who the hell's here, and we're losing a lot of our jobs to stupidly low wage labor, and so laborers, and so people knew that there was a connection, and so they wanted Trump to fix that, and so Trump came in really on an affordability deal.
I know.
And so what's Trump done? He came in on an economic argument.
Right.
What has Trump done to better our economic situation? This is what people are thinking now. And so because of the Iran war, because of the skyrocketing prices of oil, that's affected everything. Now that affordability is flipping. Now they're using that against Trump and saying, how's that worked out for you? So much for the golden era. And so Abdul Sayed's now come in. Guess what? It's popular to go after billionaires again.
Yeah.
Remember, it was Bernie Sanders. He spent decades trying to do that unsuccessfully. But now Abdul Sayed is basically Bernie Sanders, who hates Jews. So
They don't, and no one has to complain about the price of eggs anymore because we have lovely gas prices going up again.
Al-Sayed wants to exact a 5% tax on all the billionaires in America. Yeah. So he wants to go after about 8
Well,
points.
Newsom's doing the same shit in California.
Same thing.
One time. It's just one time. What's wrong with just one time? They don't understand. They're not into free market capitalism. There's nowhere socialism has worked. Now, we have aspects of socialism here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. I mean, there's aspects of it, of that, but not to the degree that they want to implement. And so, I mean, look, their apologetics, their defense is persuasive to young people.
I was going to say, continue that analogy because I want people to understand it's happening right now and it's legal. But there's a needs-based assessment before you can tap Medicare or before you can tap Medicaid.
Fair enough.
And so what's happening in these socialistic regimes, that's not how it works. It's not needs-based. It's who you know. That's the point. You take the money for yourself and you give it to people who are like-minded. This is about power and control. That's why it leads to misery. Because you're not addressing a need, you're creating one. You're not fixing an injustice, you're creating an injustice. You're not being compassionate, you're being grossly uncompassionate, incredibly cold, actually, and indifferent to the needs of others. This rent capping, I mean, this is being deployed right now. New Yorkers wanted socialism, and they're getting it hard and fast. Yeah. They've just literally rolled out 1 million units that are rent capped in New York. You want to talk about the misery that the landlords are going to be like, fine. That's fine. I have no money for repairs. Yep. You're going to see roofs caving in, pest infestations. Yep. Good point. You're going to see leaky pipes out the ass. These are in 100-unit buildings. You're going to have massive misery. But I mean, you've taken the incentive out of the process, and now you create misery.
Not to mention the public housing is just going to fall down to pieces because that's already broken, and now it's going to be regular. It's
going to be third world country stuff. I mean, and that's just absolute reality. The people aren't rushing over to this country because of the third world country shit. And in our elections, in our culture, in our society, in our living conditions, and that's what's happening. That's why last week. No, don't lose your thoughts. Okay, I want to hear you. This is your expertise. But I mean, just with the World Cup, when all those people were coming, all these countries were coming over, and they were just praising the United. They weren't praising that shit. They were praising how nice people are, the opportunities we have here, what we have available to us. That's going to change under socialism. There's not options. You can't, whether it's come with medical, with your medical health care. Ask anyone in a socialistic country. I know people from Canada. They put on waiting lists.
I know.
If anybody's had a surgery,
sure,
orthopedic surgery or anything like that, or anything, you're on a waiting list. And you're in misery, and you can't just go and then think about the quality of your surgeon.
That's right.
If everybody's on the same and there's no motivation to earn and to have a reputation
100%.
that you're great at what you're, they're like, well, shit, I'm just going to do what everyone else is doing.
I have at least one grandparent who's died this way in Portugal. And I noticed earlier this week, I think Bonnie Tyler passed away. Do you know where she passed away?
No.
In Faro, Portugal, which is the capital of the Algarve, which is actually a very affluent area down by the Mediterranean. It's beautiful. But man, the second I saw that, and if you look at, she had a perforated intestine. And then there was a lot of analogies between the way she died and I think the way my grandfather died. I got to talk to my mother about that. But this, to Nico's point, socialized medicine doesn't work, and it leads to misery. Look, here's how this works. And I'll say this and I'll shut up because it's what's going on in New York right now, and they're learning it the hard way, and and they've tried it in LA. There's other places where rent capping. And when we're talking about rent, it could be any product.
Yeah.
Anytime you put a price cap on a product, the quality of that product is lowered to meet that artificially low price. That's what happens. And so you end up with shit, not prosperity. And so think about it. You're talking about where people live, right? So you have mechanical systems. You have structures. At the end of the day, this ultimately leads to a safety problem. That's the issue. And so now, right now, a rent stabilized or a rent capped apartment is a huge commodity. And I mean, it's worth a lot of money. But the problem is it will lead to shortage of supply because it takes the incentive for people to make investments and create additional. Anytime you have rent capping, you're going to have a limited supply. So take the rent and put any other product in there. Anytime you cap prices, you're going to end up with supply shortages. People, please study communist economics. Study economics in communist regimes or socialistic regimes, and you will see this is what it leads to, misery. But if you're not taught that, it sounds wonderful, okay? And that's what Mamdani's been able to do. He's been able to float in on ignorance. These people know their audience. They know that Americans are grossly
But they're already primed. They're
ignorant.
already primed. They're already primed. We've talked about the 4 stages of ideological subversion. They're already primed. Demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization. Yuri Bezmenov talked about it back in 1984. It's true. They've been appropriately demoralized. They've been destabilized because you're all shaken up. Then a crisis now can happen at any moment, and then you have your fertile foundation. So then, the new normal comes in, and you don't realize the new normal sounds good until it doesn't sound good because it's not good, and it's the same old bullshit. I mean, Bernie Madoff sounded good too. And he cheated people out of millions and millions of dollars. And they're cheating us. They're going to cheat us out of our culture and our society, and we're falling for it. And that's why I'm so critical of the church and of the quote-unquote conservative movement, and why I criticize the GOP often, because we got to do better. And I'm not going to stop criticizing. I'm going to keep pushing for better. It's like I constructively criticize my children. I want my wife to criticize me and give me loving suggestions and say, Chulo, do this, but you should do this. Have you thought of this? And I want to continue to improve. We should all want to improve. I have not arrived.
Amen.
And our culture sure as hell hasn't arrived. And so we need to keep pushing to do better.
We can't do it all on the show because there's not enough time. But I would recommend that people go back and pull down the video from the debate between Abdul El-Sayed and his opponent, Haley Stevens, Representative Haley Stevens, who's, by the way, on our way out. Look at that debate. It was just this past week. And look at the dynamics. So
maybe we can post it.
Yeah, I mean, you ought to.
I haven't seen it. I want to watch it.
I mean, this was the first time, really, for her to push back on this guy and the nuttiness of what he's proposing. I mean, and it was entirely, using your word, it was entirely squandered. So I mean, totally. I mean, so instead of going after him for his, because his defense is really of Islamic terrorism. I don't know if you remember months ago when that West Bloomfield terror attack, a guy comes into a temple Israel. It was a synagogue where there was young kids there as well, students. He takes a F-150 in there, and he basically blamed Israel for that. He says, hey, violence is a cycle. This is a retaliation for Israel's aerial attack in Lebanon. That's all he had to say about it. And this is routine for this guy. It's the West's fault. If you get killed, it's your own damn fault because you're genocidal. Yeah. If your kids get... So this is who we're putting in the United States Senate. Yeah. Think about that. This is the defender of the Constitution. So she could have gone after him for that, his equivocations of Islamic terrorism. This guy has talked about American capitalism, like we just said, in the most horrific ways. She could have gone after that. You know the 2 things that she went after him at? I mean, this is a joke. She went after him because he has no legislative experience.
Oh my!
No, I'm dead serious.
God.
And because he was delayed in disclosing his tax returns.
And she got her ass kicked, and that's what you get. And so,
are you kidding me?
So, look, the Democrat Party needs to push back. I want a strong, logical Democrat Party. I want a Democrat Party that did not push out a Bobby Kennedy. I want a Democrat Party that has Joe Manchin and that John Federer feels at home in. I want a Democrat Party that Tulsi Gabbard didn't have to run from. I want that Democrat Party back, and that's when we're going to disagree on, but we agree on so much foundation stuff, and that our country is going to be strong because on the things that we don't need to just disagree just because our tribe doesn't agree on, which is insane, open borders, men and women's sports, all this other bullshit, socialism, communism versus free market capitalism, because the people that are advocating it are hypocrites. That's the oligarchy mindset where the small minority controls everybody else, but they don't live in what they tell other people they have to live in. That's essentially I'm just trying to simplify it, George. I mean, it's not the legal definition. But that's what happens. That's the only way this works. That what I'm advocating for, I don't have to live in. My first piece of evidence, Gavin Newsom. That dumb dick was telling everybody, wear a mask and don't be with your grandma when she's dying, and don't be there when your kid's born, as he's at a restaurant laughing it up with no masks on because he knows that was all bullshit, and they're having this high fancy dinner with no masks on. But that's the only way this works. And if you're a true look, this mindset is going to push Bill Maher out. Bill Maher, the classical liberal,
close to being thrown.
How can he in good conscience vote for this shit? John Federer is gone. He's not going to be around much for the Democrat Party, and they don't want him anymore. This is what they want. And the people that are voting Democrat that don't agree with this, but because they're thinking of the tribe, that's not, I'm telling you, take your party back. Take the Democrat Party back. Don't let them take this over. I want a healthy debate. We need to have a push. I don't want to, look, here's what I tell people. All these stupid ass horrible Soros DAs. Joe Gonzalez here in Bexar County because he's an absolute wussy and a horrible person and a horrible DA, and he's a coward. Can I say more? I mean, and same with the DA in Travis County. Same with the DA that was in Portland before they had to switch out. Same with the DA in areas of California. These are all Soros DAs. But then the overcorrection is like the DA in Comal County. I don't care. I know her. I like her as a person. But the ideology is the overcorrection. No one goes to prison. Everyone goes to prison. That's not the way it goes. So we got to be careful with everything. All I'm saying is we need logic. We need reason. We need to take a party back. We need good tension. I want the Democrat Party to push back on Republicans because many Republicans need pushback. And then there's this meeting in the middle. And I'm not that guy like, oh, let's meet in the middle. I'm just saying it naturally, the tension, the people will speak. And if your ideas are extreme, they're going to go to the court of public opinion and they'll be metered out. That's all I'm saying. And there needs to be that.
And these politics need to be exposed for what they are. You can't let your opponent get away with equivocations on Islamic terrorism. That's a game stopper. You need to park there and not let up. You need to explain that we're getting to a place where the average Democrat doesn't just want the political destruction of their opponent, they want the actual destruction of their opponent. Whereas the worst Republican seeks the political destruction of their opponent, not their actual destruction. Right there, that is a major chasm in the different types of politics we're talking about here. It is a politics of violence and coercion and destruction versus a politics of persuasion. You want to persuade the masses to vote your opponent out so that you politically destroy your opponent. I want to politically destroy you. I want to destroy your politics because I think your ideas, your propositions are destructive. I don't want to destroy you. I believe you're an image bearer. I believe you have dignity before God, regardless of what I think, regardless of your politics. You have dignity and value before God, right? So those are very different worldviews that we have here embedded in our politics. And so why we're not making the case befuddles me. Now, do I think this is going to carry in the general? I don't, because as you know, well, Nico, because if you're in a blue state, and look, we have a blue city, right? So your general looks a lot like your primary, same people. But that's not the case when you're going, this doesn't carry well. Where these people are winning are deeply entrenched blue enclaves. It doesn't carry well in swing states.
They don't stay there, they spread.
That's our concern. Our concern is we have a window of time during which we should be reacting and responding with thoughtful arguments to expose the politics for what they are. Don't worry about sounding offensive and using offensive. This stuff is offensive. You don't think a political opponent who dreams about your physical demise at some point, you don't think that's offensive, right? We have to call this out for what they are. If we don't, we're going to create an environment where the seeds are going to be planted, they're going to germinate, and this is going to be part and parcel for American politics in the next 5-10 years.
I was surprised that the Nazi tattoo guy made it as far as he did until the accusations of rape came up and everybody just scattered.
Well, was accusations of rape against whom?
Conservative?
No,
against him.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, who was the alleged victim? People on his side.
He said,
So what I'm saying is people like that, like the Bernie Sanders and all these fools that went all in, you've got to start pushing back on them and saying, what were you all in with? What convinced you? You saw all the signs, but you went all in until it didn't benefit. These are all opportunistic, these people are full of shit. Look, there's people full of shit on our side too, and I call them out the same way. I do call them out the same way. But this guy was going to win. This guy was going to win. That's where the Democrat Party's going. And people that are Democrats that I respect and care for deeply, I hope that they wake up and say, I'm telling you, it's going to be too late. Don't defend the tribe. Huh?
This is the kind of stuff that needs to come up in debates. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this kind of stuff. The party of believe all women didn't believe any women because he polled well. So where's your principle? At some point, he stopped polling well. And now they want to believe all women.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. These people are... Look, the only principle they have is that there is no principle. It's power-based dynamics. So wherever my path leads to most power, I couldn't give a shit what principles I need to break or uphold on the way there. It's about power. I don't want a power-based politics because it'll lead to a trail of broken bodies because it always does.
Karen, any questions?
No,
rapid fire?
Questions. No.
Rapid fire, nothing?
No rapid fire.
Nobody?
Everybody's listening, and we have a lot of people on today. It's been interesting. Everybody, Manuel just did say Newsom is going from eating at the French Laundry to doing inmate laundry.
I don't know about that.
Nothing's ever going to happen to Gavin Newsom.
No.
Right? I mean, that
Look,
guy's
I mean,
there
look,
to stay.
if the Republicans don't win November, Trump's presidency's over.
I know.
I mean, I've said that how long now? I'll keep on saying it, but I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm just telling you. I mean, Tallarico's having an event down here in San Antonio I think at the Pearl today. I mean, that guy's a heretic. I mean, I saw a video just the other day. He's like, well, there's different ways to God. It's just whether you call him Yahweh, Allah, Hare Krishna,
That
Nirvana.
really
I mean,
said it all.
he's not a Christian
just
pastor.
an insufferable, embarrassing clown. But people, people on the left are taking him in.
He sounds great.
But I mean, this is as long as this is the type of male and this is the type of man that you want, that's exactly what you're going to get. They have ostracized and alienated straight white guys or just straight guys, right? You have this effeminacy. What the hell? Where is this mysterious girlfriend he keeps talking about? Who is this person? He keeps calling her his rock. Okay? Look at Graham Platner. That's the kind of male that we're propping up. Seriously.
Yeah.
The John Ossoffs of Georgia or Ruben Gallego in Arizona with the ridiculously tight jeans. Okay? I mean,
Please don't make me have the visual in my mind again. Yuck.
as long as you make a space for this type of character, you're going to get more of it.
What are you going to do? Karen,
Show me your behavior and I'll show you a reward system.
Alex, thank you so much. He just said thanks to Karen, George, Nico. Great show again.
Karen,
Thanks,
so
Alice.
what do you think? You think Tyler Robinson's guilty?
Yeah, I do.
See that? See that? And
Sign
you
her
haven't
up.
even heard all the evidence. See, that's what
doesn't
Sign her up for the
matter.
jury.
No, it depends on what
There's
side you are.
Too many
Depends on what side you're on.
confessions. Too many confessions and written video, everything. That's just. You know what? One more thing I want to tell you, Nico.
I knew I was going to get it.
I mean, and
loves
I'm
this
not
stuff.
blowing smoke to you, Nico, but do you ever just watch all of these high-profile trials and say, why are those loser attorneys there instead of me? Do you ever say that? Come on, I do. I'm just blown away by the people that they pick to represent them.
Well, look, I mean, I don't have time
I mean,
to
you
watch
do
all
have a
these
choice,
high-profile
don't you, when it comes to your own lawyer?
But then you got to can you afford other lawyers? Can you do,
When it's your life?
There's a lot of good lawyers out there, but they don't know. Clients don't know. I mean, I can't tell you how many people come to us after they've gone to someone else, and then they're 10 months, a year into this thing. They're approaching their trial. Nothing's been done. They're scared. They don't like the strategy, or they've learned something about it. Look, I mean, it is what it is. A lot of a lot of lawyers advertise. There's not a lot of lawyers don't train to be trial lawyers, unfortunately, and they're not
They
trial
still
tested.
get hired.
Well, I mean, look, that's their marketing. Good for them. But the problem is, I'm not trying to sell you a widget. Someone's liberty's at stake, and our Constitution is at stake. I want to preserve and protect the Constitution, and so for everybody, by the way, not just for the innocent people or the people that I like. For everybody, I represent people that I passionately disagree with, and I'm gonna. I mean, we got a client coming up that we're.
So there are certain clients you're not a fan of.
There's certain clients that I'm. Yes, that's
He
true.
loves all of his clients.
Maybe
Stop
maybe
it.
one or two here.
A couple of them, but it's irrelevant.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Ask the ER surgeon if he likes all his patients.
Equal justice
Yeah.
under the law, baby.
It doesn't matter, man. It's
That's
gotta-
how we
That's
do
why
it
they
here.
put a sheet
appropriately.
on top of them.
I mean, there's people that I passionately disagree with on politics, on worldview, on lifestyle, but they don't get 90% Nico and LaHood Norton Goss. They get 100% because there's a principle at stake for me,
Yeah.
and that's it. And I fight for them just the same way because I'm fighting for the principle over the client, to be honest with you. And clients should want that because sometimes there's contention between you and your clients, but it doesn't matter. You still can fight for them. They don't get half-ass efforts.
Yeah.
So that's all. I mean,
And I love that. I mean, because you're a devout Christian, you're outspoken about it.
Yeah.
That's loving your enemy, truly. I mean, defending somebody in the best way you know how, who is diametrically opposed to you politically. And politics matter. I mean, politics
yeah.
represent your convictions, right?
100%.
At the ballot box. So it's not nothing. So that's loving your enemies. Jesus changed everything with that
But
commandment.
also in Colossians 3, it says that we're supposed to do, for the Christian, you're supposed to do everything as if you're doing it for Christ, unto Christ. So you take pride in your profession, and if I've been blessed with a certain set of skills and talents, and it's about stewardship for me. So, I mean, every one of my clients gets the benefit of me serving Christ through them. That's the way I look at it. And that's why I get so passionate, and why I fight hard for all of them, because I'm serving something higher than them. I'm serving Christ. I'm serving the Constitution. I'm serving due process through them.
And that's the principle that built the entire country, not just a law firm. That the whole country is based on. Imagine a culture ordered around loving God and loving your neighbor. That's the ideal. We failed a number of times in our pursuit of that, but the country is founded on that ideal. Imagine that, right? So that's worth fighting for.
One more question.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to win the midterms?
I think we're going to hold on to the Senate. If the question is, if it was today, if you're asking, we'll tell you point blank. I think it looks like we're going to hold on to the Senate, and the House is a toss up, but it looks like we're going to hold on to the Senate.
I asked that for you, Nico.
Thank you, Karen. But who's going to be?
Lose. Let's go fucking
No,
Trump.
I don't want to. But I'm so pissed. But then who's going to be the presidential? Who do you want, Vance or Rubio?
I really have to side with Rubio, man. I mean, he's
Karen.
I love Rubio. That
Vance
dude
Vance
is
just
like
he's starting to
everything.
say some things that are scaring me a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, I've been with Rubio since day one.
I know.
I know. You see that meme where they wanted to put him in the U.S. soccer uniform and send him out there to deal with that too.
Before they had even announced a vice president, you and I were on the phone talking about how we'd love to see Rubio.
Yep.
It never happened, but I kind of wish.
Yeah.
I think he'd be seeing it very different.
I think it'd be very different now, but it's okay. But then
Different
But then he had an
negotiation.
opportunity to kick ass in this position, and now we know exactly what he's capable of. So it's different. All right, guys. Well, enjoy your family this weekend. Thank you for joining. Do us a favor and either like, subscribe, or whatever. I don't know how you do. Follow and then share. I should have done this at the beginning. You should have done this at the beginning.
I
Karen.
know.
But
really
do that because it helps the audience and may give your
Yes.
comments. We try to read your comments, and I comment back when I can. Karen, I don't know if you comment.
I
back.
try to sometimes when I have 5
George,
seconds.
you jump in
Yeah.
every once in a while. Jump in.
Every once in a while,
definitely.
and I try to track what people are saying. Where do we tell people to go, Dom? Is there a hub or a landing page, or is sidebartv.com? Very good.
Live streams, and then we're going to be on Spotify. So if you want to listen,
Okay, we're going to be on
Spotify.
Spotify very
We'll take
soon
it.
too, so that's good. And you can comment and find all the platforms at sidebartv.com.
Yep. All right, guys.
Love it.
God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.